which cost more, but these men don't care. They will gladly pay the fee to stroke their egos amongst other things, all while their wife and children are asleep upstairs. And the sad thing is that this will probably be the high point in their otherwise pathetic excuse of what they call a life. Okay, so all family vloggers need to listen up for this one because I guess we can call her now, a former child influencer named Lil Tay just had her 18th birthday, and when the clock struck midnight, she opened up an OnlyFans, and in the first 3 hours, she made over $1 million. So all of these influencers justifying putting their kids online from the time they're in diapers and think this is not happening or choose to ignore it, that there are literal grown men watching and preying on their young children. Wake up, because this is the reality that we are living in, and the topic we're talking about today sadly proves just that. I have a lot of opinions. I want to hear your opinion. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Okay, so if you don't know who Lil Tay is, I didn't really, to be honest, know too much about her. I had heard about her, but basically, she's been a kid influencer since she was 9 years old. Her whole online personality persona was about, flexing her luxurious lifestyle. She would do rap videos, a lot of cursing.
You already know what's going on. I just bought a brand new Lamborghini. Lil Tay out here flexing. See these butterfly doors? I also just got a brand new outfit yesterday. Everything Gucci and designer. See my whole outfit? And shout out to Juju. I just did an interview with ABC Nightline and Good Morning America. Look at my girl Juju all flexed up.
That's really cool.
She would get in public fights with other YouTubers.
Fuck bad baby. She a bitch. She trying to act cool with her bodyguard, but she can't do shit. She can't even punch right, bitch. She a pussy. Broke ass bitch. You can't fight for shit, and you a bitch.
Little stupid bitch trying to come for me and my sister.
Yeah, bitch. Go back to beating up your mom on Dr. Phil.
Basically, if you remember Bad Baby, she was a mini Bad Baby. What kind of world are we living in, you guys, that I am even saying these words? Mini Bad Baby. Anyway, stick with me. So Tay, whose actual name is Claire, but I'm just going to call her Tay or Lil Tay, I guess. Well, she just turned 18 this past week, and at exactly 12:01 a.m., she launched her OnlyFans. And Tay is heavily playing on the fact that she just turned 18. So if you read her bio on OnlyFans, it says freshly 18, has like a shocked face and a bow, which to me kind of is like, innocent, girly type of thing, just again playing into it. She says, please don't tell my mom, my 18th birthday exclusive shot at 12:01 a.m. I'm sure saying exclusively shot at 12:01 a.m. because if she shot that whenever she was, at 11:59, she was technically still a minor, which, let's be real, I'm sure that's when the photos were actually shot. Anyway, she says, come see me in my birthday suits, replying to all DMs. So there is this whole market out there for, barely legal OF creators, and it's super gross, super, super gross. But Tay and likely her mom, her team knows this. And this is all very clear that there's a big market for it since she made over $1 million in the first 3 hours. And Tay is diving into this life, this lifestyle, this new persona for her, just completely 110%. She shared that she received a DM from the soulless vessel that is, in fact, Bonnie Blue, who is hoping to collab with this newly 18-year-old individual. If you know anything about Bonnie Blue, she loves to prey on, what she calls schoolies or barely legals. It's kind of her whole thing. She is the same woman that slept with over 1,000 men in 12 hours. So, side note, I think that list of 1,000 men, I think it was almost 1,100 men. I think it needs to be made public because I think that anyone who is thinking about dating a man or is dating a man or, sadly married to a man who was on that list, they should probably be made aware of it. But anyway, for her photo shoot promoting her OF account, Tay is wearing a shirt that says corn, can't say anything on, everything has to be censored, but corn star in training. She's basically, like I said, completely leaning into it, living it up, and I'm sure enjoying the large profit that she's making. But honestly, should we really be that surprised that Tay decided to go down the OF route the literal second that she turned 18? She has been used and she has been from her parents since she was 9 years old, receiving attention, receiving validation from strangers online. That's all she knows. She never had a childhood, or at least a normal childhood. And while the majority, the average income made from OF is less than $200 a month, we've seen this trend time and time again where an influencer joins and makes over $1 million in under 24 hours. And we also know that a percentage of all child and family influencers audience is men. It's men that are waiting for these children to turn 18 in hopes that they start an OF account so that they can go and punch in their bank account information to basically begin to them, the natural next stage of their parasocial relationship that they formed with this child in their head over the years from watching all of the content now that the kid is a legal adult, which is very clearly something that Tay knows all about because she says, I am replying to all DMs, which cost more, but these men don't care. They will gladly pay the fee to stroke their egos amongst other things, all while their wife and children are asleep upstairs. And the sad thing is that this will probably be the high point in their otherwise pathetic excuse of what they call a life. Obviously, not all married men, but I do believe that the majority of people signing up for a barely legal teenagers only fan account, I believe that audience is likely primarily men. And anyone who signs up for a teenagers only fan account the second that they turn 18 has lost all respect in my eyes. Not that these bottom dwelling basement losers are looking for respect from someone like me, someone who sees them for exactly who they are. Pedophiles, which again, I sadly have to censor here on YouTube, but that is the truth. And I think even censoring it, however I decide to censor it, you guys know exactly what I mean. Because if you are in my audience, you see them for the same exact thing. What kind of world do we live in where the natural progression for children once they turn 18, these same kids who were exploited by their parents their entire life, that the second they turn 18, it's just, I'm going to go create an OF account. And even worse, within hours, they're making millions of dollars. That is a big problem that we have in our society. And that's the dark side of kid influencers and family influencers that too many want to ignore. And who I'm thinking about while doing this video? Raquel. We all know, we've all seen this. There are so many grown men waiting for her to turn 18, but these men are so hopeful that she's going to make an OF account. And let's be real, she has been even more exploited in a sexual way by her own mother and her mother's, whatever you want to call him, boyfriend, since she was a kid. Piper's already done videos with the Bop House. She's already, collabed with them. And she's making content at 17 that if I made at 17, I would have been slapped sideways by my parents. Kidding. I was never hit, but it would have never flown in my house. But when parents prioritize money over their kids' childhood, then we can't be surprised when that child, the second they turn 18, capitalizes on what their audience interest is, which is sexual content. Again, hence Lil Tay making over $1 million in 3 hours. And before anyone comes at me saying, oh, you're shaming sex workers, blah, 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 just stop. Because this is not shaming sex workers. It's not shaming OF workers. Someone wants to go do that and people want to actually go pay for that. So be it. This is shaming the people who paid to see a barely legal girl's OF account when the clock struck midnight on her 18th birthday. This is opening up a dialogue to hopefully continue the conversation about kids being used by their parents online to make money. Because we hear it all the time. So many of these parents on YouTube, they justify putting their kids on in the video saying, we're just making memories. Why just let 1 or 2 people ruin it for everyone else? Wake up. It's clearly more than 1 or 2 people when Lil Tay made $1 million in 3 hours. Wake the F up. And this is even asking the question, if you are pro OF content, would you really want your child, your baby, the second they turned 18 doing OF? Or would you maybe want them to develop some other life skills first? Try out some other options. Maybe they don't want to go to college. That's fine. Go figure out a trade, go start a business or whatever. Anything else, really. Try dipping their toes in the real world before they go and sell their toes and other things online. Anyone? Anyone? Just me? I feel like it's just such a messed up world we're living in that this is okay. And the people paying for it, paying for this girl's content, should be so ashamed of themselves, but they're not. They're not. Someone who I actually have respect for, who is an influencer who also does OF content, is Arya Kitsia. Don't know how to say her last name, but she keeps it very real because she makes OF content, but she also makes, influencer type of content. But again, she keeps it real. She says, guys, this is not for everyone. Try out other things. I went to school, I tried this, this job, whatever. She's saying, don't just turn 18 and go into this world. It's not for everyone. And all you're seeing is the top 1% living this luxurious lifestyle. Said, yeah, I do make a lot of money doing this. I love doing this, but it's not for everyone. And there is a personal price you have to pay the moment you enter into this world. Real. I feel like we see so many OF creators out there talking about how great it is and they make all this money and they get to have this, awesome lifestyle. So I appreciate, the rare gem in that industry says, guys, it's really such a small percentage of us who have that type of lifestyle. It's not easy and it's not for everyone. So don't be fooled. Honestly, it's like OF is an MLM. We only hear about the 1%. So then people, especially young people, think they could make the same amount of money if they do it, when they turn 18, meaning that they're putting out explicit content of themselves, things that they can't take back once it's posted. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of issues with that, but the majority of people on OF are making less than $200 a month. And at that point, the content's already out there. Like I said, they can't take it back. And so 200 isn't enough to live on. And once they realize it, once they don't make it to the top 1%, since the majority of people do not, it might be too late for them because that content's out there and they might have a really hard time finding a job. Not to mention, they're still so young. And so in 10 years from the time they turn 18 or 5 even, they might be like, I didn't want that out there. I wasn't thinking, my brain wasn't fully developed yet, but I saw these influencers doing this because kids are very influenced by influencers. Anyway, though, young creators and children of family vloggers are they're being used in every way, shape, and form. So I'm not shaming Tay for making the account. I'm not surprised, like I said, but I'm also not going to be surprised when other kid influencers follow the same path once they turn 18. And I can't imagine many of them are going to go on to live happy, fulfilled lives. Because once they wake up and they truly realize how exploited they've been by everyone in their life from the time that they were in diapers to present day, it's not going to be an easy thing to realize that your own parents used you. I'm looking at people, like Amanda Bynes. There's so many I could list, but like Amanda Bynes as the blueprint, who I think might be starting to turn things around. But at one point, I mean, she was just so talented. She could have gone on to be one of the top actresses out there. Truly, I believe that. But sadly, as a kid, she was so used and groomed by those around her that her life spiraled out of control. It's one of the saddest, childhood to adult, stories we've seen in Hollywood so far. But again, she was used by everyone in her life, just like so many kid influencers that we talk about on my channel and other channels like mine today. And these kids are not adults yet, but they will be. And I truly worry about those kids. But I do think that's going to be it for today. I have so many opinions on this and thoughts, but I feel like that's probably good for today. We have to keep these conversations going to enact change and get to the point where everyone, not just us, not just channels like mine and their audiences, but where everyone as a society wakes up and realizes that kids aren't content. It's not just a hashtag or a saying that creators like myself like to say. It's the truth. They are not content. How many more train wrecks do we need to see happen before true change happens? I'm curious your thoughts about this. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think, you know what? She's 18. She's an adult. She can do what she wants. And while that part might even be true at 18, you can do what you want. But why as a society are so many people signing up for a young girl's OnlyFans account the second that she turns 18? That's the bigger question. Let me know your thoughts below. Maybe tag one of the family vlogger channels that needs to hear this message. They're probably not going to listen, but you never know. Thanks as always for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel behind the screen. And I will see you guys in my next video.